All right. In this segment, I'm going to do two things. One is I'm going to explain to you the somewhat unusual course structure that we have in place for this semester. Part of that is due to the pandemic, and part of it is due to a change in approach for how I'm planning to go about the course. And then the second thing I'm going to do is go through some details of the syllabus, just a quick once-over of how your grade's going to be calculated mostly. All right, so this is the overview of how the course is going to work. What is normally lecture content, the part where I'm just talking and explaining things, that's moving into videos, okay? Those videos will look in a general sort of way like this one probably. I've been trying to get myself up to speed with some other tools, but they're really not working out quite as well as I had hoped, so we're going to stick with this format, I think. It's going to be important that you watch those videos and read the appropriate textbook sections before you come to the live class sessions. When I say come to, I mean log into, right? And that's because in those sessions, we're going to be working on solving problems. And if you have never seen the vocabulary, the terminology before, don't know what the words mean, you're not going to be able to solve the problems, okay? Then in our live sessions, we're going to be focusing on problem solving. We'll work through a set of problems each class. Usually we'll start each day with some quick questions using the Reef polling app that will just be my chance to assess is everybody in the group prepared? Have you done the work, watched the videos? Do you know what it is that we're there to do? Okay, then we'll start with some simple problems and we'll work our way up, sort of like climbing a ladder towards more and more difficult things. Okay, along the way, there'll be lots of those polling questions. Those will give me feedback on how you're handling the problems. Are they easy for the group? Are they difficult? In most cases, it'll be some of each, frankly, because that's the way this course sort of goes. And I'll try to adjust or re-explain things as needed based on how the class is taking to the topic at hand. I made a quick comparison here between how I've taught this class in the past, meaning how a lot of our university classes go, especially the super large ones like this, and how I'm planning to do it this time. On the left here, you have the traditional lecture format, right? In that format, which is how I've always taught this course, I talk the vast majority of the time. Students sit there, take notes, sometimes fall asleep, sometimes entertain themselves with whatever other toys they've got with them. And that's sort of how college classes have been for my entire going to college lifetime, which is by now quite a long time, actually. Okay. There aren't very many students who will actually raise their hand and ask a question or point out anything that was confusing in a 300-person auditorium. Okay, and now we're in Zoom, but we're in a 650-person group last time I checked. So there's probably not going to be a lot of people who are going to want to speak up and do that, okay? In those traditional lectures, very often, those of us on my side of the desk, the faculty tend to give ourselves the easy problems to work for examples. Okay, partly that makes sense. You don't want to do a super difficult problem and make everything seem harder, but partly it just does the opposite. It makes everything seem really easy if you only ever do really simple problems in class. And the downside of that is then the students get to work the harder problems later on when they're outside of class doing their homework problems, let's say. Right? Gosh, there's some old adages that say, you know, the simple problems are the in-class examples, the hard problems are the homework, and then the really hard problems are for the exam. Right? And that's not how I try to approach things, but there may be some grains of truth in there, like most things that have come to be said over the many years. The way we're doing it this time is we're taking the class time and using it to concentrate on problem solving. So the lecture content is going to be in videos, and I'm going to try my best to keep those videos in short chunks. My goal is to average not more than 30 minutes of video that I'm going to be asking you to watch prior to each session, okay? There'll be a few simple examples in the videos, but mostly the actual working of problems is going to be in our live classes, okay? In those live classes, we'll start with simpler things, we'll work our way up. The goal is to get you ultimately to where you're able to navigate your way through a multi-step problem, in some cases where at the start, it's not entirely obvious how you're going to solve it. Okay, I have an outlook about problem solving that says if you read a problem and you know immediately how to solve it, then it wasn't really a problem. It was just sort of like a thing to do. right? It was just a skill that you already had. If we're trying to improve your problem solving, that means taking, these are the things I know, these are the things I'm trying to find out, how can I connect them up, right? How am I going to get a link between those two things and be able to make my way from where I start to where I end, okay? That's the goal, or one of my goals for the class. Your homework sets in this case are going to be mainly for after the live sessions to just check up on, let you see, have you really mastered the things at hand? Okay, so I envision the most challenging problems probably being the difficult ones that we do in the problem solving sessions. And I'm prepared for those to be more challenging than most of the problems in your homework and then the problems that are in your exam, just because in those problem solving sessions, we've got the whole group working on things, and we've got me giving you guidance. And so we should be able to navigate more difficult things there, okay? So that's the goal. My plan is not designed to try to get you to spend more time working on chemistry, okay? I know I'm asking you to watch these video chunks before you come to class, but then a lot of the in-class time is gonna be taking over from a lot of what used to be somewhat wasted time trying to work hard problems out of class, where people would, you know, sometimes spend an hour trying to solve a problem without ever getting a sense of how to go about it, okay? And that's not maybe the most clever way to be going about things, but that happens a lot. And so we're gonna try to repackage that time and just make better use of it. So I'm not expecting this to be a greater time commitment overall. It's important to say that because I know students see this and say, well, now you're having lecture in the videos, then we still have class. It's not really like that. It's just kind of a rearrangement of where different pieces of the workload are going to take place. All right, the rest of this is going to be a little bit about some details of the syllabus and grades, because students like to hear about how grades are going to work. This will stay up and available through the semester, so if later on you get confused about your grade, you can always look back in this. There are 1,000 possible points in the course altogether, and they are split across 5 categories as shown on this slide, okay? Those include the REEF polling questions, the homework sets that are in OWL. Those are the things that I've been sending you lots of messages about how to get registered for and to make sure you have the right subscriptions for. And then going down from there, we have things that are sort of quizzes and exams, right? Those last 3 categories, quizzes and exams, those are all going to take place inside of eCampus, all right? And so more on that in a minute. The REEF polling questions will take place in the live sessions. As it says in the syllabus, you get half credit for those just for answering the question at all, okay? And so even if you never got any of them right, you'd still get at least half of those possible points. I expect you to get a lot of them right, and so I expect the scores in that category to be fairly high. Likewise, the homework, the problem sets will be set up so that you get multiple tries on a problem. The goal is for that to help you make sure that you've mastered things and that you're where you need to be. So again, that category should have relatively high scores. Those two together are 300 points or 30% of the total. Quizzes, 250 possible points. You're gonna have over the course of the semester, we've scheduled 6 quizzes roughly every 2 weeks. Those will take place in eCampus, and you'll be taking one on alternate weekends. Those will be open throughout the day, and you'll have a window of time there when you can take it at your convenience. More details on that to follow. Out of those 6 quizzes, each one will count for 5 points. Each one will count for 50 points, sorry. And your best 5 quizzes will actually count towards your grade, okay? So that means you could miss one quiz entirely for whatever reason. And if you had perfect scores on the others, you'd still get all the points, okay? So that's best 5 out of 6 scores, up to 250 possible points. Then we're having just 2 major exams this semester, which is a decrease from previous years. Midterm exam, which is coming about halfway through the course after we've made it through chapter 6. That one will count for 200 points. And then the final exam, which will take place in the first week in December, after we've gotten past Thanksgiving and you've all left campus, that will count for 250 points, okay? Because the quizzes and the exams will all be in eCampus, the quizzes, which are lower stakes, you'll have taken probably 3 of those quizzes before we get to the first big exam. That'll give you a chance to get accustomed to how exams work in eCampus, all right? I know last spring when we went online, it took me and all the faculty a while to get our heads wrapped around how we were going to be able to make exams in eCampus. We think we're okay at it now. We've had several chances to practice, and so we think we're ready to go. All right, that's 1,000 possible points altogether. Out of your 1,000 possible points, we'll add up how many points you've gotten, and then we will use these numbers, which you can see are your traditional 90, 80, 70 sort of thing, to slice up your numerical scores and turn them into letter grades, okay? A couple of things about this. As it says in the syllabus, these are the numbers that start off as our projections. It's a bit of a wild card because of the online semester and all that. I'm optimistic that I'll feel like the grades are good with these numbers. If it seems like something has gone horribly bad, if I mess up and a test just seems like it was crazy difficult, it is possible, but I think not likely that I could adjust these numbers slightly in your favor, okay? Under no circumstances will the numbers shift to make it harder to get a particular grade. Your grade depends only on how you do and not on the class average or anything like that, okay? So that's another way of answering the question students always ask by saying, is there going to be a curve? My expectation right now is that I can answer that question with a no, that I will calculate the grades like it says here. If in fact every single one of you makes above 90%, I will pat myself on the back for doing an awesome job. Maybe wonder a little bit why I'm better at this doing it online than I ever was in person, but then you'll all make A's. If, on the other hand, you all do poorly, then it is possible that you all get poor grades, okay? So just keep that in mind. One of the reasons for that is I want it to be so that you're not perceived as competing against one another, okay? There's not a maximum number of A's or B's or anything like that that can be had. And so there's no cost to yourself in trying to help a classmate get a handle on something or anything like that. A little bit about the different categories. The in-class polling questions will be done with the REEF app. Make sure you get yourself, so you have the app ready to go and that you're registered into our class, okay? I demonstrated that a little bit in the class materials video, and there's some comments in the syllabus about how to do that. Most days in class will start with a comprehension check. That's meant to be a did you watch the videos sort of thing. So there'll be a couple questions that should be straightforward and simple if you're prepared. Then we'll work through a series of problems, ratcheting up in difficulty, sometimes sticking with one major topic, sometimes a couple of them in a given day. For each one of those questions, you're going to get half credit for participating and half for answering correctly. Each day will count for the same number of possible points, no matter how many different questions there are, okay? I don't want to have it be that I'm required to have an identical number of questions every day, because that just won't work. Some days we may not get as far through things as I expected, things like that. There's more details about that in your syllabus, so if you're the sort of person who wants to know all the rules, check that out. The OWL homework you'll have sets due weekly, almost every week. Currently, the plan is for due dates to be on Wednesday nights. That means your set will be due before midnight each time on Wednesday. It'll probably say it's due at 11:59 p.m. Because if it says 12, then it turns out that when it hits actual 12 midnight, the day changes, and then it would say it was Thursday at 12 midnight, and then you would all think you had Thursday all day to do them. So Wednesday night means before midnight. Many of these problems will focus on the sort of basic skills things, using what OWL refers to as mastery questions, okay? There will also be some more challenging questions that come out of a group that OWL refers to as end of chapter problems. Because of the way OWL works, in each problem set, you're actually going to have two separate pieces of assignment, one that's the mastery questions and one that's the end of chapter problems, okay? Right now, you cannot see any assignments in OWL, at least at the time I'm recording this, because I haven't set them up yet. Okay, I just got out of a video chat with some people from the publisher to get myself refreshed on how to do that. And so before we get to the first live meeting on Wednesday, we should have your first set visible where you can see it, okay? Each assignment, each problem set will be worth an equal point value. Details on how the points work will be in the syllabus. And again, the number of points that you can actually earn and have count towards your grade here is smaller than the total number of possible assignment points, which means that you don't have to panic and get all worked up if you miss a problem or miss a piece of an assignment. Just don't make it back to finish it. There's still a chance to get all the points. Quizzes will be in eCampus on alternate Sundays. They're in the calendar in the syllabus. The dates, the first one should be August 30th. The quiz will be available throughout the entire day. Details on exactly what the entire day means to follow. I like to have it so that the beginning and end times come at times when I'm awake and paying attention, because that's when there's most likely to be issues, and I like to be watching so I can try and intervene if anything is happening. Once you start the quiz, the plan is that you'll have 30 minutes to complete it. Okay, that'll give you a chance to get used to answering problems in the formats that work in eCampus and being under a little bit of a timer so that you have some practice with that before you get to the bigger exams. There'll be a total of 6 quizzes. Each one counts for 50 points. Your best 5 scores actually get factored into your grade, so there's a possible 250 points you can earn. If you get 50 points on all 6, for example, that's 300 points, but in your grade, you can still only have 250, I'm afraid. These quizzes, especially that first one, are meant to give you your first substantial feedback on how you're doing, okay? If you get to that quiz at the end of the second week and it goes horribly wrong, that doesn't mean you have to just like get into a panic. It means you have to think about changing what you're doing. Okay, we do see students who are just get a little bit of a shock to the system from the change from this is how tests are in your high school to this is how tests are in our university. Okay, that's going to be a shift for the vast majority of you. The fact that you get to drop one of the quiz grades will, among other things, mean that it doesn't have to be a serious ding on your grade if that happens. It just means you have to kind of reassess what you're doing to prepare, what your study habits are, and maybe make some changes there. Exams, midterm exam is after roughly 7 weeks. It's scheduled for Friday, October 9th in the normal class period time slot, okay? There'll be lots of details on how that's gonna work before we get there. That should be through chapter 6 of your textbook, and it counts for 200 points. Final exam, in keeping with the registrar's schedule, is Wednesday, December 2nd. Those are now 2.5-hour exams. So ours is set for 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. Those times are in Central Time. What will by then, I guess, be Central Standard Time. That's material mainly from the second half of the course. As I say that, I should point out that a lot of things from the first half of the course kind of carry over because there's a lot of building upon ideas that happens, okay? Both of those courses exams will be given in eCampus and proctored using Zoom. You'll get details about that, but we're gonna be using the same proctoring scheme as math is, and so one thing I'm happy about is before we get to our midterm exam in this course, the vast majority of you will have taken an exam or two in math, so you'll have been through that process before. All right, that brings me to the end of what I've got for the rundown of how grades work, okay? This should be the last bit of just general course information that I'm posting. Next up, appearing fairly soon, you should have the beginnings of some more content-oriented videos.